Hello, brothers and sisters of the Briar. Professor Jeremiah here, and happy Cobb Tuesday. Well, today I'm smoking some Sutliff Mark Twain. This is a toasted Cavendish, toasted black Cavendish actually, Virginia Burley. Really nice smoke. I had been smoking this probably once or twice a week, and I realized last evening when I'd filled a bowl of some of this that I don't think I've smoked this at all this year until last evening. Well, when I was driving yesterday and on the road for a few hours, I thought I would share with you a story that I always enjoyed as a child. I loved to hear this story anytime I was around either of my aunts or my grandmother. I would always kind of get them to tell this story because it's just fun to hear them talk about it. They grew up on a typical little southern farm, and the house which my grandmother and her sisters, brothers grew up in had been built by my great-grandfather. He actually had dug the well first and then built the house basically around the well, so that the well to the house was right outside the kitchen door. Well, he farmed pretty much with mules, and it sat on 100 acres, and he had some other property that some neighbors would let him also farm as well. So one day he sets off to the big city, and I don't know if this was planned, but definitely from the accounts that I received of the story, nobody was expecting what was going to arrive home with him that afternoon. So, in the late afternoon, a Model T's driving down the road, and then it whips into the yard of the house. And it starts circling the house, and the driver's honking the horn and waving his hand, and the family all starts running out to see who it is. And on that second loop around the house, as the horn's honking and the driver's waving, they realize that it's their father. And so now he makes his third loop. He's in his third loop around the house, honking the horn, waving, and everybody's all excited. Father's come home with the Model T. Well, now he starts in on his fourth loop, and he's not waving as happy in a sense, and he's not honking the horn anymore. It's a little more sporadic. And it's about that time that some of the children begin to realize something's not quite right. And somewhere in the fifth loop, my uncle, who I don't know how old he was, but he would have been fairly young at that time, he realizes that something is definitely wrong and jumps up on the running board of the car. And at that point, my great-grandfather informs Thurston, my uncle, that he's forgotten how to stop the car. So somewhere between the dealership where he bought the car and arriving home and starting to circle the house, he's forgotten how to turn it off or how to stop it. He's forgotten all of that. And maybe it's just in the excitement of the moment. So my Uncle Thurston, I guess, somehow knew or just had an idea, but he's able to stop the car for him. So that was the family's first Model T. And if I remember correctly, I think it was really one of the first ones in their whole community. I do remember specifically my grandmother saying that they were the first ones with a radio, and that they were also the first family to have a TV there. So it was always kind of interesting to hear them talk about that. The first airplane to ever land in the community landed in a field that was next door to them, and the way that the farms were set up then, the field almost looked more like it should have been theirs because it was just right out the side door of their house. But she said that the first airplane that came landed in that field. Imagine all the things that a person of that time period would have seen. I mean, we're talking, this is in, the 1920s, 1930s. I'd share a little story later in another video about my grandmother and grandfather, but I want to say my Uncle Thurston, who had jumped up on the running board of the Model T and helped my great-grandfather stop it. Well, he went on to do something that many of you might have seen before. He went on to be in the Engineer Corps of the military during World War II, and he was the one responsible for wiring up the swastika that's blown up as the Allies have defeated Germany. So I might even put a little clip of that in here. But that was his handiwork, probably a few other men involved with him on that. But I never got to meet him that I remember. If I did meet him, I don't remember that meeting. But anyway, I'd heard the story of the Model T many times, and my dad is who knew all about the swastika being wired up. Well, brothers and sisters, I hope you have a happy God Tuesday, and God bless.